First and foremost, I'd say just the upside and the returns.
Mm-hmm.
When we can start, not to say that I'm just strictly chasing yield, but when you're looking at going in cash on cash. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always look at the full picture, right? I'm not someone that just looks at, what am I making on day one, although that is important. I'm looking at IRR and kind of looking at, long-term pictures. So if we find the right multifamily deal, we'll go in, if it's only a 2% cash on cash, but we know the upside's there. We'll go for it. But really the deals I'm seeing don't even weighing in the upside.
This is the Multifamily Journey Podcast, show 37.
You're listening to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. In this show, you'll hear industry experts share tips of success and failure from their real estate investing journeys. You'll get a transparent look behind the curtain while you learn to fulfill the lifestyle you want to live and achieve your wealth goals. Get ready for the journey to financial freedom through investing in multifamily real estate. Here's your host, Blake Dailey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Blake Dailey. And as always, I'm excited to bring this episode because I think these conversations are super valuable. And I hope you guys are getting that same value, trying to provide awesome guests who are doing very cool things in the multifamily space and real estate, business in general, people that have really good insight into helping us on our own journey. Because I'm learning from these people right alongside you guys. So today we got on Brock Mogensen. He's a guy that's up in Wisconsin in the far north, where makes me glad that I live down here in Florida. We joke about that a little bit on the show. But Brock is doing really cool stuff. While working his W-2 job, he's been able to get into his first multifamily deal. An 89 unit was his first deal, which he talks about. Found the right partners, right? They synced together and had the right skill sets to grow better together than they could have individually. That's a really cool story. And then they got into office space, commercial office space, commercial retail, which is really cool that they're doing that now of all times. And also self-storage. He talks about why he's pivoting towards more of the self-storage stuff. Still likes multifamily, but as we all know, well, if you haven't, I guess, multifamily right now is really hot. It's a competitive space. Prices are going up. Cap rates are going down. There's a lot of pressure and competition in that market. So he and his partners are doing a little pivot. Of course, still love multifamily, but are looking at other asset classes where they can get better returns. And funny enough, I'm doing the same thing. So resonate with him there. And I think you're going to hear a lot of good info from Brock today. So a little update before we get into the show. I got 2 off-market deals that I'm working right now. These sellers have been nightmares to deal with, but we're getting close. So goal this week is to get an answer either way on both of those. And then if anybody keeps up with my YouTube channel, also toured a 24 unit that was close to the beach. That short-term rentals and long-term rentals mixed together in these 24 units. And that seller had this just astronomical price that would have been like the value add play price 2 years down the road after converting like half the units to short-term rentals, which really would boost the income. And she was just sticking to that. She's like, no, I want to sell at this price today. And I was like, lady, anybody who buys at that price will lose money. But the sellers are holding the gold in today's market. So she's staying firm. See, maybe that turns into something down the road. I put in my offer and at least put it out there, right? You got to throw it out there to get it back. So at least put it out. And that's where I'm at, just still trying to do deals like everybody else out there. Got some feelers out, working on those too, hoping they come back. And then also trying to get the drawing submitted on my 8-unit rehab this week as well. That one is behind schedule, but we've got it back on track now for finding the contractor. So things are looking up. I got a smile on my face about it. Can't do anything else, right? Just keep pressing. But that's all I got. So before we get into the show, guys, if you like it, if it's valuable, please give it a rating and review. That does a big job on iTunes to get the podcast out there. Hear more people. Like there's no pitch in this, right? It's just value. So I want to get that out to more people and bring them good guests like Brock today. So appreciate that from you guys. But with that, let's get into the show. Brock, welcome to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on, Blake.
Yeah, man, it's really good to have you. I think it's funny. We were talking beforehand about how we came across each other. We actually talked like last June, and I was going through my notebook and found these notes and read the name Brock Mogensen. I was like, that sounds so familiar. And then read over the meeting notes, and then your number was right there. So I text you, and here we are.
Oh yeah, it's funny how things work out.
Yeah, almost a year later, here we are, man. So what's your backstory? How'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I've been in real estate it's been a little over 3 years since my first acquisitions. Probably a year before that, started the education. But for real, for me, it was grew up. My dad had 2 duplexes, and it really just growing up, I saw the power of came from a real blue collar family, and that kind of showed me what can be possible with just acquiring a little bit of real estate on the side. So I really took that lesson growing up and decided right out of college, all right, let me buy a duplex. Did that, bought a duplex, did the house hack model, which is a great way to start. Always recommend that.
Oh yeah.
And from there, kind of spent some time. I saw the power of what real estate could do, and I decided which path I wanted to take. Right. I mean, there's a million different ways you can go in real estate, from flipping, wholesaling, buy and hold, all these different paths. Spent some time exploring different avenues. Ultimately landed on this concept of syndication, which is really just creating partnerships to go after larger deals. And that's really where I just kind of put my head down and grind it out and connected with some people, partnered up, and started doing some syndication, larger deals. So next deal was an 89 unit, and then went on to do 4 or 5 others after that. And that's where I am today. And it's been nice, great, man. So far.
Yeah, it's not bad starting with a house hack and then going to an 89 unit. So I want to break out that, because I know there's a lot that went into that, I'm sure, like on the education side. But with this whole real estate thing, was house hacking your initiation into it? Like, was that what kind of opened up the doors, or did you already know that, you wanted to invest in real estate long term, and the house hack was the first step towards that?
Honestly, the first one I did, it was just kind of just more so of like, just felt like something was the right thing to do. I was saving up money, and I was like, oh, do I go buy a house for myself, or do I buy a duplex and live for free? Just kind of like, that makes sense. I never really had the vision of like, oh, I'm really going to scale up and real estate's going to be, what I do full time. It was more so just felt like it was the right thing to do. But then it kind of really opened up my eyes. Like, wow, literally I'm living for free. I was actually cash flowing while I was living for free too.
It's a great feeling, isn't it? When you have
like, this is crazy
coming in. Yeah. I started the same way. And it's great. Do you think that, the education that you got from house hacking prepared you to go out and chase these bigger deals, or did it at least kind of fuel the fire to go out and learn what you needed to knock down bigger deals?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that first one I learned a lot, just the basics, right? I mean, the actual process of getting a loan for a deal and how the core functions of it work definitely kind of fueled it up to want to go, continue doing more. So I think it's great. I mean, house hacks, FHA loan. I mean, it's a real simple deal to get into. There can be some complexities with FHA loans, but I mean, relatively not much money down. It just kind of, it just shows you like the process of a transaction, right? I mean, obviously going after different sorts of deals and larger deals, there's a lot of differences, but really going after, a house hack it'll show you the basics of a deal and kind of give you that confidence to go after the next one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's almost like the training wheels of getting into real estate, right? Because you normally have like a lender that's helping you get approved for the loan. And they're, as a homeowner, they're used to kind of walking people and holding the hand through that process. And it's the same with a real estate agent. Like they're used to, like on the residential side, used to dealing with home buyers. They're helping out more. So you really have people to lean against in that whole process. Whereas when you get in the investment space, it's really kind of dog eat dog, and you're out there against competition and you're trying to make your own. But buying that first property, like you're saying, man, it's a really good way. It's like a repetition. It's like working out with a partner that's showing you the form and everything, and instead of you just going in and trying to throw like big weight on the bar the first time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's so much small lessons you learn, like dealing with tenants and stuff like that. I mean, rehab usually, and your first one like that, you'll kind of be more involved in the rehab stuff. And so, definitely learned a ton from that, and allowed me to definitely, without that, I went to gone that next step.
Yeah. And another good point right now for those people out there that are like thinking, how can they get into real estate investing? I know prices are going up, but debt's so low that you can get into one of those house hack deals and still do well, and at least reduce your living expenses right now, because money's so cheap, and those payments, you're going to get more for your money, even though the price is higher. So something to think about if if you're trying to take that first step and, you're probably listening to this podcast thinking about getting into bigger multifamily deals right away, but think of like that house hack or, that duplex or whatever as like a stepping stone to getting you to that 89 unit or whatever it is, just like Brock did. And that's the same thing I did too. Like just use your deals as stepping stones to where you want to get. So that's huge. So Brock, I know you have the biggest meetup in Wisconsin, right? The biggest real estate meetup in Wisconsin, which is a really cool kind of milestone to have. Is it, are you still at the top on that?
Yeah. So it's when I say that, it's so specifically the largest multifamily meetup in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So not the largest.
Gotta be the biggest at something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. So I kind of a little bit more of a niche. I mean, and that just quickly, I mean, so that the reason we started it was, and I'd assume this is common across many markets in the country, is I started going to all these meetups when I was first starting, and every one I'd go to was either about wholesaling or flipping.
Mm-hmm.
I literally,
it's like the super popular strategies to like get people in from like nothing, from like no investment experience.
Exactly. And that was where I was going to all these, and it was cool. I mean, I met a lot of people, and it's all, at the end of the day, it's all real estate, which is good knowledge. But
yeah,
for me, I was like, well, I want to focus more on like multifamily and stuff like that. So we just like, let's start our own and just gear it towards specifically multifamily. So when I say the largest, it's because we're like specialized in that, the largest, but it's been great. I mean, we're doing about a year and a half and
nice.
Met some awesome people. And it's been huge for scaling to where we got to as well.
That's awesome. At least you're not like just the biggest multifamily meetup in like some small town in Wisconsin of like males over the age of 30 or like 25 or whatever it is, to where it's not like super niche. But yeah, you guys got a big following. I saw it's a couple hundred people strong, which is awesome. And thinking back to how I like started hosting my meetup was the same way I started online, like during COVID. And then a buddy of mine had started one locally. He's in the military and PCS'd, and I took his place and now host this meetup. And like you're saying, it's a great way to, provide that forum for people to come together, talk multifamily, right? We rebranded as the Panama City Beach Multifamily Meetup to bring in, multifamily investors, because there's other groups that focus on flipping or wholesaling, or we have one locally that just rotates a bunch of different strategies, which is good. But yeah, it's like bringing people together who are all focused on kind of the same thing and have that same long-term vision, which is a really good niche to be in.
Yep.
So how did you go about growing yours? Were you able to meet in person like throughout the last year up north in Wisconsin?
Yeah, we took a few months off, and we didn't quite fully pivot over to the online model. We did a few webinars, but then we just kind of, we for a few months there, we kind of just took off, and then we came back probably a lot earlier than most meetups came back to in person. We got back as soon as possible, and so we've been back in person for a while now. And it's been good. I mean, getting back to the in-person networking.
Awesome. That's really good. So you got experience on the meetup side. I say meetup on the online side, like the virtual meetups, and then the in-person people coming together. But what tips would you have for somebody who's looking to, maybe start their own meetup and start their own niche, whether it's, multifamily or like duplex investors of Florida or whatever that's going to be? What tips have you used to grow your own? Yeah,
I think first, ideally, you find like that niche or that specific market that might not have a meetup, right? Maybe there's a town 20 minutes from you that there's no meetups in. If you can kind of just take over that town, and that's ideally it's easier to kind of scale that way when there's not much competition there. But if you're in a bigger market, that's kind of hard to do. Secondly, I mean, just really getting the word out. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all marketing. There's several ways. I actually have an ebook on the subject on my website that talks about this, the strategies we use to grow it. But different ways, like the obvious ones, right? Social media, reach out to your network and comment there. A few other smaller ways I found is kind of maybe attend other meetups and tell people there, hey, I also run a meetup. We're having our next one a few weeks from now. Just direct messaging people on Bigger Pockets. We've been able to get big audience that way. Paid ads on Facebook, throw $20 as a paid ad. There's like there's about 5 different channels you can post meetups on. Meetup.com, Eventbrite, Facebook, Bigger Pockets, blast it out to all of them. Run an email list, email people anytime you talk to someone about real estate. Hey, I run a meetup. You should come check it out next time. Here's my email address. Throw them on a list. When you have an event, you send out an email. Just stuff like that. I mean, just really just staying in touch with people and letting them know you have a meetup is huge. And especially when you're running it, the benefits are awesome. Even if you're just getting started and don't have much experience. When we first created this meetup, I didn't really have many deals under my belt, but you run a meetup and instantly you have credibility because people look to you as this person runs this and everyone wants to talk to you. It's crazy how it works. So I definitely suggest people, if they're looking to build their network and kind of scale up, starting a meetup is a good way to do it.
Yeah, we host our meetup the first Wednesday of every month here in Panama City Beach. And you're right, like when you host it, like people are coming to talk to you a lot of times because they see your other stuff. And then you just, for me anyway, I spend like 3 hours just talking, which I love it, connecting with these other investors. But that's really good. So first of all, you got to find your niche and then market in that niche with all these ways. Social media obviously is a big one. And then I like the idea of what you're saying, and like just go to these other meetups and then tell people about your meetup, because it's likely they want to increase their touch points too, right? Especially when you're starting out, like you're saying, you're going to a lot of different meetups. And I did the same thing. And I know other people that you just try to find like that group that really resonates with you. And if you provide that for somebody, then they can come in. And then we post ours on Bigger Pockets too. So that's good. What I haven't experimented with is the paid ad yet. Have you seen a good like return on that? I know it's not necessarily monetary, right? Because it's like a free group, but it increases kind of the traffic, right? So do you see like a return on time or like return on experience there? So I don't know. How do you judge that return?
Yeah, it's more so, we usually get 10, 20 people that say they're going, right? I mean, a lot of people say they're going on Facebook to events. I mean, I do it too. You say you're going, they don't actually go, but I mean, it's I guess we've never truly like dug in deep enough to say, hey, this person came through.
Yeah,
on
it really
that.
is kind of
actually show up.
Thing. Yeah,
it's kind of more so just throw $20 at it and it seems like it does something.
And who knows, man? One of those people that sees that ad, maybe they come and they're like, I was really looking for to get into multifamily, really looking to invest. I have, I just got an inheritance and I don't know what to do with this. So I was hoping to figure out something this meetup, and then boom, you're seen as the expert because you host the meetup and you put it on, and they're like, oh, I need to talk to this guy. So there's benefits there for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the guy everybody comes to. Cool, man. So on the management side of like getting into your actual properties and your portfolio, are all your properties local to you, like in your local area, or are they around other markets too?
Yeah, everything we've done so far is about within an hour radius of where I live and our property management company's headquarters.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess real quick before we get into that, what's the makeup of your total portfolio? Because I know it's more than just multifamily, right?
Yeah, so it's quickly got into several different asset classes. So started with an 89 unit apartment building, and then I mean multifamily is still like our bread and butter. That's still the main thing we're searching for. But in the meantime, we came across an office deal, a strip mall, industrial deal, self-storage facility. So we've quickly gone into several asset classes. For now, more so focusing on industrial, self-storage, and multifamily have been the three kind of that we're focusing on.
I can resonate with that. Sometimes you just can't turn away a good deal. You just got to jump in and learn something new.
Exactly. And it's these good deals popped up and they've proven to be good. But multifamily still, I mean, that's love to find 100 unit B class value add deal, right? I mean, but that's what every other syndicator,
think about 3,000 other syndicators or, somebody fresh out of Michael Blanc's course is doing the same thing.
Exactly. And it's the prices people are paying is just crazy. We have certain returns we have to hit, for our investors, and
and just haven't been able to make time to be worth it too, right? You don't want to do a really slim deal just to do a deal. So that'd be kind of a waste of time. So are you managing these properties yourself? I know there's crossover in managing, office space to multifamily to retail, but again, they're a little bit different operation too. So are you doing that yourself, or do you have third-party property management that does that?
Yeah. So the person I partnered with in the syndication firm we started owns his own property management company. So they're one of the bigger ones in
Pretty
Wisconsin.
Good partner to have then.
Yeah. That's been pivotal for sure. Yeah. So they manage all of our stuff. I mean, there's definitely been some stuff we had to learn, and we're, triple net leases and how different stuff with the leasing side. There's different marketing channels to bring in people for office and strip mall and all that. So there's been definitely some stuff we had to learn, as we're doing these different sorts of deals, but it's been great. And at the end of the day, I think there is differences, but at the end of the day, it's still real estate. All the core concepts are there.
Yeah. Especially when you get commercial, right? It's like NOI and, tracking your metrics, and it's probably NOI. Simpler too on like at least like, I don't know, the office might've been hit or whatever, but when you have those longer term tenants, there's not a lot of management. Are they triple net on that side, or is there more management involved?
Yeah, they're triple net on most of those deals. Okay. I think all of them.
And I guess there's probably explain triple net. Can you do that just if people haven't heard that term on here before?
Yeah. So triple net is the tenant covers all expenses besides structural, like roofs or, anything big like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other expense that comes through, taxes, insurance, utilities, common maintenance, everything covered by the tenant.
So you basically just pay a mortgage, right? And any big things that need
any big things that might come up that aren't covered in there.
Yeah.
But everything else is covered by the tenant.
And I think some triple nets are even set up to where like the tenant will, they'll do the roofs or they'll do, repave the parking lot or whatever it is. Just depends on probably your location and the asset class too.
Yeah, that's an absolute net lease, and those are a little less common, but that's you can't get much better than that when they're
because on those your management's probably a lot less than on like your 89 unit value add multifamily. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, operating expense ratios generally on industrial and stuff like that are going to be closer to 40%, sometimes even lower. Where multifamily, right? You're 50 to 55% generally. So operating expense ratios are definitely lower there. Obviously, there's risk that comes with it, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows on that asset class. There's finding tenants is much harder. It's much easier to fill, a one-bedroom apartment than it is to fill the 20,000.
Yeah, it's usually good why you have those longer-term leases because
so there's benefits and negatives, right? To both. But for us right now, just kind of looking at the big picture, industrial specifically has been an asset class that we've been targeting more.
Yeah. Kind of interesting question. As you're talking, this kind of came to mind. How does that fit into your guys' goals as a company on like the return side? Because generally, like, are you seeing a slightly lower return than you would like a value add multifamily, but the risk profile kind of balances that out? Like, how does that get you to where you guys want to go? Because I think in my own portfolio, like one day I'll probably just like sell everything off and put it in a triple net and just like, float off into the distance or something, because the management's so much less.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think there is, there's definitely value add deals within industrial, and some of the ones we have some slight value add.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the difference is, it's more stable cash flow, right? If you're getting into a deal with a 5-year lease, you can generally almost assume they're going to stay there unless something goes wrong. But that's why you have the lease. But so it's kind of more consistent cash flow, where the value add multifamily might be, you're walking in day one with a 3 or 4% cash on cash return, but there's that big upside to boost up the NOI and get the big exit.
Yep.
So there, like I said, benefits and negatives to both. But we have there are value add industrial.
So in those deals, you can get a bigger, like a bigger equity kicker at the end because the cap rate's lower and that NOI boost, because it's a ratio of the NOI to the cap rate. That lower multiple on the bottom is going to create a bigger net number in equity on the exit, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's we actually benefited from that on our 66 unit too on our pro forma, because the cap rate ended up being a little bit lower, but on the exit it helped, and the cash on cash didn't change. So I was like, it gives a little bump there on the end.
Oh yeah.
So before we get into asset management, kind of just wanted to, out of curiosity, ask how you got set up in the, like, how'd you get into all this with these partners? I know you said one is one of the partners owns the property management company. Like, where's your role fit into that, and how do you guys sync all this together? Because you're still working full time, right?
About 2 more weeks.
Okay, so you're right on the precipice. How have you guys done it so far then?
Yeah. So how we kind of started is, and how I got linked up. when I first kind of taking a step back, when I first started the education process, right, which is everyone's first step to get into real estate. I spent time, naturally, I'm kind of more on the analytical side of stuff. So for me, the underwriting was the thing that made sense to me for really to learn. So I spent a lot of time just learning how to properly analyze a deal, specifically a syndicated deal. And that's where, through that, I partner with people that are more heavy on the sales side. So that partnership worked out well because we each complemented our weaknesses. And yeah, we kind of all intersect on what we do. I do, stuff across the whole board now, and I'm raising capital and underwriting deals, taking part on that asset management as well. So I think our paths kind of intersect more. So now we still have our specialties, and we kind of stay in those lanes when it comes times to it. There's a lot of times those paths intersect. Mm-hmm. But I do think starting out, it's the best way to go about it, to kind of focus on one thing within these large, because a lot goes into targeting these larger deals.
Yeah. I always recommend that too. Like it is so overwhelming if you try doing everything. Like I tried doing that in the beginning, and I just about burned myself out before I got started.
Yep.
And then once you just can kind of decide on one thing, like, hey, this is going to be my strength. This is where I'm going to focus like most of my attention, like the 80-20 rule, like spend 80% of your time doing what's most important and like the 20% doing, I don't know, support roles or whatever you need to do, the other stuff. But yeah, that's so important. And I don't know like what your experience with this is, but I always find it like more, oh man, how to put it? Find less people in your position who are like really good at underwriting, but still have the drive to go out there and push it. So like when you combine one of those people with like the salesy people, because you see a lot of salesy people out there trying to push, but they don't have that other piece. And when you combine those, man, it's like can really create sparks if you find the right pieces, right? Because you have like roles in every like syndication firm. You got to raise the money, you got to find the deals, you got to underwrite the deals, like when all that fits together, that's when like the magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, those type of partnerships are the best ones to find, where you kind of each have your strong suit.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys fell right into it. So congrats there. And if you guys are listening, like if you're that person like Brock and you really want to go after this and you're really good at underwriting, you think that's your strength or maybe that's your interest, go focus on creating that strength and then find somebody like, Brock's partner that's really good on the sales side, is outgoing, has the broker relations, stuff like that, and combine forces. And that's where you make the magic. So Brock, on the asset management side, I know you got different commercial asset types. So you got a wide breadth in the experience of operating. So talking about optimization now, like what are some of the things that you guys have done to optimize the NOI in your properties or across your portfolio?
Yeah, there's been quite a few, and always adding stuff to it as we learn more as we're going on through operations. But I'd say a few of them, I mean, staying on so at the end of the day, asset management is really just, you have your property manager, but you have to kind of track and make sure that the business plan is being implemented. And that's what an asset manager do. They stay on top of the property manager to make sure everything's happening right at the property and that you're staying on target to hit your pro forma. So some of the things we've done, I mean, first and foremost, looking at the data every day. We've implemented, daily reports where we're looking at collections, lease ups, money coming in, money going out, everything, where we can quick snapshots. I look at the numbers every day.
And how are you guys, I guess before we get too deep into it, how are you guys gathering and collecting your data to be able to pull those reports? Is it coming through like AppFolio or some other property management system?
Yep. So we have AppFolio as what our property manager uses. And then we hired a virtual assistant through, a good amount of hours put in training him. We've, he sends us reports. He's able to pull data direct from AppFolio and put together these nice dashboardy reports that we look at every day. So stuff like that. Oh yeah, it's crazy. Yep.
They're huge, man. And just think of like, if you have a business right now, or you have some kind of task you're working on, and you can pay like a $5, $6, $7, $8 an hour VA to like 2x your productivity, because they take all like the minutia and the admin, like pulling these reports so that, you can focus on the analyzing and like tweaking to push that business plan forward. That's huge. Like I'm still trying to coach mine up and get them to where I want to be. And I'm looking at hiring more now. So I love this idea of like incorporating them into your business. Like I got the podcast editors, the video editors for the YouTube channel, like the admin that does stuff, and like all that stuff integrates in to take a lot more time off my hands. Because if I had to edit this podcast and the videos, like I just wouldn't do them.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wouldn't even turn the camera on. It's just too much.
Yep. No, yeah, it's crazy how, $5, $6 an hour, which is good money there. I mean, these people are in the Philippines. To them, that's like, I mean, you got like NBA people making like $12 an hour, $15 an hour. So for, if you push that back, like these are people that are very well equipped and they have experience too, doing this for other people. So that's huge. Yep. No, absolutely. Another thing that our virtual assistant does is generate more leads, right? I mean, a property manager for all our different assets. I mean, they put ads out there, right? They got a million things they're going on. When a lead comes through, generally, and this is common, I'd assume probably at all property management companies, they're not answering that lead like that, right? They got a list. They might get to it a few days later and call that tenant back.
Yeah.
Our virtual assistant,
which is like hurting your business, right? So by like decreasing this response time, it's like helping you. You're sticking out rather than calling another property to go live there. You're now getting your properties leased up faster. So that's a huge if they can cut down that time.
Exactly. Yep. And that's. We have them posting ads, all these different channels, Facebook Marketplace, and answering them, within minutes. So that's been huge for generating leads.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, a lot of people. I've heard of that like recently, really within like the last year and a half of generating a lot of leads with Facebook Marketplace, putting up rental units up there, in addition to like the what is it, rent.com, where it syndicates it across all the different sites. So
yeah,
I heard of a lot of leads off Facebook. That's awesome. So these VAs are handling a lot of this to where, they're bringing in the leads that then you or the property manager is doing like the real screening, right? To, take like filtering through the data and like making the decisions with it.
Yep, exactly. Our virtual assistant will go all the way to scheduling the appointment with our on-site property manager. On-site property manager, has a couple days a week.
They're just seeing their calendar showing up. These people, they've already been pre-screened. Like, here's the criteria.
Exactly.
And they're doing that from 2,000, 3,000, whatever miles away.
Yep. It's crazy once you get, obviously it takes a while, like you're saying, it takes a while to train them and get these systems built. It's not just going to happen overnight.
Yeah, it's for sure iterative.
But it's worth it. At the end of the day, it saves you, our time's not worth answering, when you're first starting out, but as you scale, it's not worth answering all these leads. You hire someone to do that.
Yeah. What I had to get over is like, thinking about that person as a cost rather than as an investment. Just like when you like buy Appfolio or something, that's like an investment in the company because it's streamlining so much, like it's putting everything in one place. So that's an investment in the company. But these people, the VAs, are the same way, and they're so cheap and so easy to start using. Like you can go on Upwork.com, create a free account, and start buying hire and screen a VA in like one day. Like it's very accessible. So when I started thinking about them as an investment, that helped a lot. And this book too, I don't know if you've read this, Who Not How.
No, I haven't read
I just read this book. It like completely changed like the way I think about things. It's like one of those transformational books that as I was reading, I was like, oh, you idiot. You know what I mean? Like you should have been doing this the whole time.
Let's check it out.
Yeah. It wasn't like quite Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but it was like, because Rich Dad, Poor Dad's always the one that like gets you into it.
Yeah.
This one was very good. Very, very highly rated.
All right.
That's awesome, man. So I guess, talking about these VAs, it seems like you've went through the process a lot and put them on a lot of different tasks. And I don't know how many people that listen to this show have VAs yet, but do you have any tips to effectively manage them or, manage your team, or just kind of whatever, I guess, leadership tips that goes into managing your team? Because this could go with anybody. It doesn't have to be VAs.
Yeah, I think it's so transparently, I haven't really we haven't had like we have a few employees in total here, but it's nothing massive yet where it's got to where I got to manage this huge team. But so far, it's really just been holding them accountable. We set performance reviews, and we compensate based on performance as well, right? We do performance-based bonuses and stuff like that to keep people incentivized. Keeping an eye on what they're doing each day. We have daily reports to kind of see what they're doing as well. Not that I want to be fully micromanaging everyone, but I think especially when they're, a couple thousand miles away, you do have to kind of stay on top. You can't just assume they're going to do everything you say. So a little bit of tracking and micromanagement is going to be key. But yeah, I think so far it's just been holding them accountable and providing that, opportunity to grow and showing them that if they do well, that they're going to be treated well. I think it's huge. Even everyone's incentivized by bonuses. So that's the easiest way
that's really good. Like as I was listening through there, like some of the things that stuck out to me is like that accountability, like the status tracking and making sure that they are where they need to be. And if not, like you give them that feedback to get them there. Like those are the same things we do in the military, like that we use to train enlisted, or, even the officers above me training me the same way. So that the things that you're doing there, I think, if that's the same way that the military is, to a degree, leading people, I think you're on to the right track. So I'm trying to do the same thing too, trying to get better with, like measuring it, because some of the stuff's subjective, but there's definitely objective parts of it. It's just like putting KPIs to that to say, all right, are they meeting this? Are they doing that on time? Even with myself, like you got to keep yourself accountable with KPIs too. Like have those to say, did I analyze enough deals this week? Did I put in enough offers? So yeah. And that leadership starts with yourself too. So you don't have to go hire a VA if you don't know how to manage yourself. So learn how to manage yourself and then implement that on somebody else. But talking about those KPIs, what are some of the most important ones you guys use to track your properties? Like, are you guys looking at vacancy, occupancy? Like, what are the big ones that stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, so all the given ones, right? I mean, income, expenses, vacancy, stuff like that. Some of the more, different ones, I guess, are stuff like tracking the amount of leads that come in. How many of those leads turn into, appointments? How many of those appointments turn into leases? Stuff like that. Tracking by channel, right? So we track by how many leads came in from each channel, how many leads from that channel converted to a lease. So then we know, our
Which
paid
channel is doing the best.
Yep. Do we double down there or
That's interesting. What have you guys seen be the most effective as like a leasing channel?
Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
Although they did an algorithm change a few months ago that brought that stat down a little bit. It's still the winner as far as leads to leases.
Yeah. So basically you're leaving money on the table if you're not advertising on Facebook Marketplace.
I'd say so, especially even the free one. I mean, you don't even have to do the paid ads. It's free. Facebook Marketplace is free for now. I mean, I heard there's talk that they're going to start charging for it.
Yeah. I've bought way too much stuff on Facebook Marketplace. So I know there's value there. So I know they're just like racking their brains trying to as that somehow. I know there's like some aspects of it, but yeah, that's good. Have you seen, are you having to pay for advertising on Facebook, or are you just doing the free and getting enough, free traffic?
Most of the time we do just the free stuff. We had done a decent amount of paid ads for leasing on there. It's more so when, if vacancy dips a little more than we want it to, we'll kind of boost it up. But generally the free ones have there's only been a few times we had to do that. The free ones tend to bring in more than enough leads. Yeah,
that's huge. I remember the last time I was filling vacancies. I've used Facebook Marketplace for probably for the last year and a half, since last January. And I remember as soon as I got my long-term property manager, they didn't do Facebook Marketplace. I was like, no, we definitely need to do this. I was like, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it, and just forward you the leads. And then we're just getting blown up, on these leads. And I would put the screening criteria in there as well to try to lessen the amount of messages I get. Hey, is this still available? The autoresponder on Marketplace. Hi, is this still available? And I was like, yeah, did you read the criteria? And if so, I would just forward that person to my property manager. Because if we don't do this, this is, that's like if you have on Airbnb rentals and you're just on Airbnb, people book from VRBO and booking.com, you want the most exposure possible to increase your occupancy. So absolutely. Facebook Marketplace is huge. That's a great tip. What I want to ask now, kind of like a pivot away from the asset management. But what kind of commercial asset are you guys most excited about going forward? Because I know you got a couple different pans in the fire, but which one's firing you up for the rest of 2021? That was a good analogy. Firing you up.
Yeah, that is good.
Firing you up. Just came off the head there.
I would say between industrial and self-storage, those two are. It's tough to say between those two because I like both those asset classes a lot. I mean, multifamily to the core is my favorite still, but this, and just what I've been seeing so far as returns and, risk versus reward, industrial and self-storage have been kind of where I think we're really doubling down and trying to find more deals in those arenas. Still looking at other asset classes as well, but I'd say those two are the ones I'm most excited about.
Yeah. I feel like multifamily is that really good friend, that is loyal, but then they get other hobbies and they start doing other things. And you're like, oh man, we're not hanging out as much or whatever. And then you got these other asset classes like self-storage, hey man, I'll hang out. They're taking you all the parties. And you're these other assets are pretty cool. We'll spend some time over here, forget multifamily for a little bit. We'll let them come back to us. Yep.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, totally right. That's good. So, I mean, what is it about self-storage and what was the other industrial that sticks out to you? What key factors are making you look at those and as opposed to office space or retail?
First and foremost, I'd say just the upside and the returns. When we can start, not to say that I'm just strictly chasing yield, but when you're looking at going in cash on cash. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always look at the full picture, right? I'm not someone that just looks at, what am I making on day one, although that is important. I'm looking at IRR and kind of looking at, long-term pictures. So if we find the right multifamily deal, we'll go in, if it's only a 2% cash on cash, but we know the upside's there, we'll go for it. But really the deals I'm seeing don't even weighing in the upside. they're out there, right? I'm not saying they're out there. We bought multifamily the past year. That makes sense. But more so, when you're seeing some of these industrial deals where you can come in at a 10% cash on cash return, to investors, right? And long-term leases, and they're real safer asset classes too. I do think, although the economy is booming right now, I do think there is still some uncertainty on the horizon. I think there's a lot of factors out there. I think something's going to go nuts in this next couple of years. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not that smart to figure it out.
I hope we just make enough money in the meantime so that when it does, we can just go out and buy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do think
the Bat Street Boys, buy.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, that's safety. Now I'm big when it comes to weighing risk versus reward.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. What you're saying, like you got to look at the total return and the whole picture. Because if you're an investor that just gets hung up on cash flow, or the cash on cash return, and you're missing, that value add on the backside because you're not looking 3 or 5 years down the road, or even not taking into account that, all right, I made a lot of income this year, and if I buy this, we can do a cost segregation and get all the depreciation. Like a big chunk of depreciation year one to offset that, like that's going to help your overall financial position. So, that's probably, for my case and for your case, that's probably where a good amount of our investors come from, is like looking for tax benefits too. So, just to look at one metric on a multifamily deal, on a self-storage deal, whatever, any real estate deal, you got to look at that whole picture. Like your California deals are going to look different than your Indianapolis deals, like an appreciation and cash flow, but both have their merits. So really good point.
Definitely.
So wrapping up here before we get into the final segment of the show, what's been your biggest takeaway managing and growing your portfolio over this last year?
It's a good question. I would say being able to pivot and create systems when necessary. So, so it never goes to plan. You can't, you can put as much time as you want and everything when you're writing up your pro forma, and that's very important to try to model it out as, every detail you can think of. But at the end of the day, pro forma is never going to go as planned. There's going to be certain things that go better than planned. There's going to be things that go worse than planned that pop up they don't think about, right? Like
Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, till
exactly.
Claims COVID and they can't pay rent.
Exactly. Yeah. In our pro forma, we weren't accounting for 15 tenants to walk in and last year saying they're not going to pay rent. We can't evict them. Right. And they haven't paid rent in a year. So we had to pivot, right? We had to start we found local programs that are providing rent assistance to able to make up those rent balances. And we've been able to pivot and recover from it. Yeah. But things like that, where you can't just sit back and, close this deal and just think you have probably manager just going to sit on autopilot. You have to be able to, stay on top of it. It's not, there's a lot of work that goes into these deals, and pivot when necessary. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned over the past few years.
Awesome. Yeah, that's huge. Got to be able to pivot. All right, cool. Brock, let's transition now to the Fortune 5. All right, so this is the 5 questions I ask every investor every episode.
Fortune 5.
So getting right into it, Brock, what's the biggest thing that has contributed to your success?
I would say education and having vision. So vision and discipline, I think is what it'd be. Creating that vision and just staying disciplined and working hard at it.
Vision and discipline. Have you done like a vivid vision or like a vision board or anything like that? Is yours more like just goals on paper?
Yeah, I haven't actually created just because I really don't have room in my apartment. But I've got, certain small things like that where I'm looking at stuff, and I love boats. So I got these boat magazines that I look at every day, just kind of, goals like that.
Motivates you. It's like the carrot on the stick. I've been wanting to like flip a house to buy a boat for so long, but like that would not be a good financial decision. I could reinvest that and make like 10 more boats or maybe 3 more boats, but
yeah, it's fun, but expensive.
Yeah. So tempting, but yeah, that's awesome, man. Got to follow the vision. And what's been your biggest mistake so far that's turned into a learning lesson?
I would say specifically some of the things just on due diligence. There's been, every certain deals we do, we kind of, you learn things as you go through them. Right. And, they're just,
changes the pro forma down the road, right? For the
there's certain things to pick up on that, you maybe should have done during due diligence. That was in the first one. We learned a few things that could have picked up on during due diligence. But that's the thing is you're always learning. You can never sit back and just be complacent. You have to you're going to learn something new on each deal you do. And you just have to be ready.
Yeah. And real estate's so dynamic too. Cause like the market never stays the same. You know, you're probably chasing different deals or bigger deals after a time period. That's what I think what we were talking about earlier about like, you know, starting out in one area and like using that deal as a stepping stone to your next deals. Like those mistakes you make are probably going to be a lot less likely to sink you than if you just kind of, or getting partners to flatten your curve too, right? You're going to learn over time. So that's huge. And I think people too, like let like that fear of failure stop them. But what you just said is so important because you're going to make mistakes no matter what. If you're listening to this, you're going to make mistakes. I've made them, Brock, you've made them. Like you just learn. Yeah. It's
funny when you hear people say, they don't never talk about mistakes, and I don't care how successful you are.
I could write a book on mistakes. I'm going to do that one day. Just like the anti-real estate book, everything not to do to be a millionaire in real estate.
That's actually a smart idea. That's where you learn the best is through mistakes.
Yeah. You got to have them. Cool. Speaking of writing books, what's your favorite book that you'd recommend to someone starting out?
I would say, and it's not specifically real estate, but actually, no, I'll go, okay. Real estate related, What It Takes. I just read that one, by Steve Schwartzman, the CEO of Blackstone. And that's just crazy. How to scale up quickly. Talk about that. I mean, that was a great one.
I'm writing that down right now. I've heard that book from like several other people, but haven't read it yet. And it's not on my book list. So it's getting added right now.
Oh yeah. That's great.
So outside of, underwriting properties and doing asset management, what do you like doing for fun up there in the far north? Chasing down mule deer with a spear or what?
Yeah, no, I'm in the city in Milwaukee. So you go far north though. There's some bad stuff.
Do you have to take a canoe or something everywhere you go unless the water's frozen over?
Yeah, no, not quite here. But yeah, it's
is Wisconsin the land of 1,000 lakes or is that Minnesota?
That's Minnesota, but there is a lot of lakes in Wisconsin.
I've never been that far north. I've been to Canada, but like not Toronto, Vancouver. So I haven't been like in that area of the north. I want to go check it out sometime though. Maybe take my canoe and go across those 10,000 lakes.
Yeah, there you go. Just scoot across them. Boating. I mean, that's tying into that. Boating and golfing. Those are my two big hobbies.
Yeah, that's awesome. You gotta come down here to Panama City sometime. And the weather's always perfect for golf unless it's like July or August because it just gets too muggy. You can like pass out. But anytime outside of that, we'll go play some golf. I'm not very good, but I'll try to keep up. Brock, last question here. Where can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of ebooks and educational stuff on my website, which is at you type this URL in www.smartassetcapital.com. Click the education tab, and I got some different ebooks on analyzing, finding deals, and asset management, stuff like that. So you click contact through there, and that'll directly prompt my email, which is brock@smartassetcapital.com. I'm also on posting more stuff on social media, trying to do that on Instagram, just at Brock Mogensen. Follow me there and feel free to DM me there as well.
Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. You made an ebook, right, on how to grow a meetup, right?
Yep. That's one.
I think I read that like last year when I was like a brand new meetup guy, just trying to figure out, I was like, man, I don't know how to get up in front of these people and like talk about stuff, but learned it over time. So I think yours was one that I read. So definitely go check that out. And then, yeah, thanks for sharing everything, man. This is awesome. This is about a year too late, but glad we finally did it. Got to put a face to a name this time. And this is good stuff, man. Hopefully you guys keep growing and flowing.
Likewise. Yeah, it was great talking to you, Blake.
Thanks, man. And we're out of here. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like the show, if you found value in it, please go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. If you want to check out more on your multifamily journey, go to multifamilyjourney.com where you can get free resources to start your journey and figure out your path. That's multifamilyjourney.com. But more importantly, go take action today towards your financial future. See you next time.